Do you want to go around with as many true beliefs in your mind as possible? Damn the consequences, damn the cost?
Yes, I do, because I would rather... I would, prefer to have the truth.
Okay.
Whether that would pop my bubble or not.
Huh.
And that, goes completely against what I said. It's just really weird.
Hi. Would you have time for an interview? I set a timer for 4 minutes. Usually, though, when we hit the 4-minute mark, the person wants to keep talking a little more.
I can do 4 minutes.
Thank you so much.
So.
What time is it now?
1.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was asking. I was like, if it's a 30-minute interview.
Yeah. No, I timer for 4 minutes.
Okay.
And yet, when the timer beeps, the person is usually so engrossed in the conversation they want to keep going.
Okay.
I appreciate you stopping.
Of course.
What's your first name?
Maritza.
I'm Anthony.
Nice to meet you.
Maritza?
Yes.
How do we spell it?
Maritza.
Maritza.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Are you okay if I record it?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I've got another camera up here I'm going to put on if that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay. The idea here is, because I'm practicing street epistemology, is to... Could you come this way maybe a little bit? I just want to make sure I get you in the shot.
Sure.
The idea here with street epistemology, which is what I'm doing, is to take a statement or a view or a belief, something that you think is true, and explore it with you by asking questions.
Okay.
So maybe you think ojo is real. Ever hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Or gender is a social construct. Vaccines cause autism.
Okay, that's not true.
Karma, gods. We take something that you think is true and explore it together. Figure it out. What exactly are we talking about? Why do you think it's true? How did you conclude that those are good reasons for thinking that it's true? Does that sound like something interesting to do?
It sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious. I'm also a little nervous.
Sometimes it can be a little nerve-wracking because, oftentimes many times people don't even think about the views that they have. They just have them and they're acting out on it. And they don't often slow down to think about why they think it.
Because I'm I don't know if I'll know the reasons to back up the belief I have.
Are you saying that you might actually have beliefs that you can't justify?
And that's what I'm wondering. If you're going to ask me questions that are going to make me question what I believe.
Well, let me ask you. If we discovered that you have a belief that motivates you to behave differently, and then when we start looking for reasons, find out that you don't have them, what do you think would be a good course of action? What should a person do with a belief that they don't have reasons for?
I think it depends on the belief, on how the belief affects you. If the belief is affecting others negatively, then you should maybe rethink of the way you see things.
Okay.
And actually start stating as to why you believe that. And if it's concrete, if it's an actual concrete belief. But I think if it's a belief and it's not really harming anyone or in any ways affecting anyone negatively, I think you still believe in it.
Okay. I want to repeat back what I think I just heard you say.
Okay.
For the purpose of you hearing your own words, but also to make sure that I didn't misunderstand you.
Okay.
And you can set the record straight. I think what you're saying is that if people have beliefs that harm them, and then they discover that they don't have good reasons for it, it makes sense to not believe it.
Yes.
And yet, if they are holding a belief that they get a benefit from, and they discover that they don't have good reasons for it, they should hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just the way I see things. If it doesn't harm you and it doesn't harm others, I don't think there's anything wrong with you having it. Let's see, some people believe in God. If you believe in God, but you don't actually have concrete proof as to why you believe in God, Like there's no evidence as to if he's real or not, or if he affects you or anything. But
Yeah.
for you believing in God, you have faith and you try to be a good person because of it. I think you should hold on to those beliefs. But if your beliefs are like affecting someone negatively, like believing that all Muslims are terrorists, for that, if that's what you believe, but there's really no proof of that, and there's proof that they're not, then why keep believing in something that's just harming you and harming others?
Okay. Okay. I think I follow what you're saying.
You think so? I feel like I confuse you.
No. I think I followed you, but I'll repeat it. I'm going to boil it down really simple.
Okay.
And then this might be off, but I'm wondering, I think you're saying it's okay to think something is true when it's okay to think something is true, even though it may not be, so long as you're getting benefit from it. Okay.
In a good way. I've always believed as long as it doesn't harm someone else. That's always been my thing. If it's not harmful or negative to someone else.
To someone else? What about if it's
Or harmful to yourself.
Okay. So as long as you are it's okay to hold a view that's not true, so long as it doesn't harm yourself or others.
Yes.
Okay. Could there be any downside to holding a view that's not true? Even though you may not be harmed or harming anyone from it?
In a way, yes. Because you might eventually not see the reality of what's really going on. Because you're holding on that belief is so true that you miss seeing some things. So, yes. There is some downside effects to it.
One potential downside to your hypothesis is that a person could actually think that something is true when in reality it isn't. They could be missing out on the reality of the situation. Okay.
Like, for example, if you believe that, because I know this from like personal experience, I tend to believe everyone's good. Like,
You tend to believe everyone's good?
yeah, everyone's like a good person. And sometimes I fail to see when they're being either harmful to others or just not being a good person. I sometimes miss that because I believe everyone's good. So that's affected me at times.
Yeah. Okay.
I think really weird. Very confusing.
I think you outlined it really well. I'm wondering if... Well, I guess number one, I'm wondering if you want to keep going because we hit 4 minutes. Or you want to wrap it
I
up?
got time.
You got time?
I got time.
I appreciate you stopping and talking about
course.
this. This can sometimes get real deep.
Mostly because I saw you earlier and I was curious as to what you were doing. But
Earlier today or is it today?
no, earlier today, like around 12, because I had class right here.
Oh, okay.
So I saw you talking to someone. I wonder what he's doing. So I saw your camera.
Yeah. Okay, so this hypothesis that you have, it sounds like you recognize that holding this view, that believing things that might not be true, even though it's not harming me or other people, could prevent me from actually understanding the true nature or the true reality of the situation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What would be the disadvantage of investigating a view, learning that it's not true, even though you might not be harming anybody or yourself, and getting rid of it?
If you get rid of a belief, sometimes it could affect the way you view things, like the faith you have, of like, or like how you live your life at times. For example, I keep bringing up God because that's honestly what everyone's been talking about with me. It's really weird. People can prove the most they can, like let's say with the whole how was the earth created. Scientifically, some believe the Big Bang, others believe God made it. So if you work so hard to prove that God isn't real, you just took someone's faith away. So they might not view their whole world the same and might act differently. So it might affect how a person is.
Okay.
Like the identity of a person.
Is there a particular God that you believe in?
No, I just believe in God in general.
A higher power, a deistic God, some sort of higher power or
Just a
something.
higher power.
Okay. If there was somebody who thought that there were no gods, and that view wasn't harming anyone or themselves, I think we probably agree they have a right to take that stance.
Yes.
But what I'm wondering is, if they were mistaken, would you have any interest in helping them discover that?
Personally, no, I wouldn't. Because that's their belief, and in no way, shape or form are they harming my beliefs. So I don't want to change someone's view and make them believe something that they don't want to believe. Like, I don't want to enforce my views on someone else.
Yeah.
Because then I would be affecting them, because I would be taking their beliefs away.
I guess what I think this is coming down to is that it's coming down to, I think, your valuation of truth. Like, how important is it for you to have beliefs in your mind that are really true? Despite the value that you may or may not be getting from them, despite the harm that they may or may not be causing you or other people. Do you want to go around with as many true beliefs in your mind as possible? Damn the consequences, damn the cost?
Yes, I do, because I would rather... I would, prefer to have the truth.
Okay.
Whether that would pop my bubble or not.
Huh.
And that, goes completely against what I said. It's really weird.
So if we had a dial to move towards I highly value truth, or I highly value belief for the purpose of belief, or even comfort, we can maybe even call it. And you can dial this one way or the other. Would it point more towards wanting to believe true things, or wanting to believe things that may not be true, but they're not hurting anybody, they're not hurting myself?
I prefer seeing the reality of things, the truth.
You prefer seeing the reality of things, the truth?
Seeing the truth. Especially if the truth would be... Because if you know the truth, you can at some point maybe find a way to make good of it.
Yeah.
This interview just changed my whole... Okay.
How did this interview change things?
It's making me think, because it's you're going to have beliefs, but at the same time, I want to know the truth. I would give up a belief if it means I would find out the truth about something.
We got a lot of kids passing in the background here, so I'm gonna raise my voice just so it gets picked up. It sounds like what you're saying is, from participating in this conversation, or perhaps other factors, when it comes down to it, you prefer to believe things that are true, even though it might be challenging to acknowledge that I'm holding a view that is not hurting anybody in my view, and it's not hurting me. And yet, if it isn't true, I don't want it in my mind. I want to get rid of untrue beliefs, and I want to hold on to true beliefs and acquire true beliefs as much as possible. Is that what you're saying? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, it is, because I think if you know the truth, it kind of seems pointless to have a belief that is fake when you already know the truth to it at some point.
Can a fake belief give us comfort and lead us to think that we're not hurting anyone or ourselves?
It can, but at the same time, you're denying yourself of seeing what it really is, and you're denying the chance of having it affect your life maybe for the better.
Yeah. Last question,
Okay.
and then you can ask me anything you want. Could you be holding lots of beliefs that you think are true, that are not true, that you get value from, and you think are not hurting you or other people?
Do I have a?
Do you think that you have views like that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Honestly, I think I probably have some that are like that as well. That, yeah, I think that I might think that they're true. They are not true. I'm like, well, what's the harm? But I think I would be in the same boat as you. If I discovered that it wasn't true, I'd want to get rid of it, maybe lower my confidence in that position, because I want to know the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was very interesting. What is this? What is this for?
Street epistemology.
What is epistemology?
Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Street epistemology is where you're having a dialogue with a person, asking them questions to see how they came to think that things are true.
Okay.
Now, we didn't really talk about a specific claim.
Mm-hmm.
This was more of like a meta discussion about whether you want to believe true things or not, and damn the consequences. Like, yes, it might be painful to come to the realization that that's not true, even though it's not hurting anybody, it's not hurting me. I get value from it. But you know what?
You still want to know the truth.
Yeah, my desire for believing true things outweighs the comfort and the pleasure I might get from holding something that may not be justifiable. So we kind of went on a different tangent, which was really cool, honestly, because if people don't value truth, it's kind of hard to move on to exploring a claim that you really think is true, because if you're like, hey, as long as I think it's true, even if it's not, as long as it's not hurting me or other people and I get value from it, I'm going to hold on to it. Well, then it's almost not worth the time to engage in a claim
Really?
until we can...
Because then you can't, if you're having a discussion with someone about it, it's just your word. It's not really, you don't have any proof for it. Like, there's nothing really concrete that is like holding it down as to something that is true and can be proven and you've seen it.
And we didn't even get into the reasons that you have for thinking that there's a higher power, for example. We just were talking about how important is it for you to believe true things? And it sounds like it's pretty damn important to you.
It really is.
Darn the costs.
I like knowing, because I don't want to, the way I see it is, I don't want to be in a discussion or a debate with someone that I have no proof to talk about. I
Right.
have no information about.
Yeah.
Except my belief. Like, I don't want to say, oh, I believe this, but that's just it. Like, I have nothing else that could help or like prove a point.
Well, let me leave you with this question, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
And you can ask me more questions if you want, whatever. I forgot where I was going with that. What were you just talking about? I'm sorry. Fill me in again. You were saying something really profound.
About not having anything to back up your belief.
Yes,
Like, to be
yes,
able to
yes,
prove
yes. So here's my question. If you discover that you're holding a belief that's core to who you are, and you think that you're getting benefit from it, and you don't think it's hurting other people, and you are actually motivated to behave differently, vote for a certain candidate, or what you want to teach your kids or whatever, if you are holding a belief that isn't based on any reason, is it worth holding the belief? Is it worth thinking that it's true? Is it worth holding a high degree of confidence that it's factually real?
I think that's hard. That's actually really hard. But at the same time, you're giving up the person you are, and by knowing the truth, it changes who you are.
What would a person who values truth say?
But yes, they would give it up. And
Pardon?
That they would give it up. They would want to know the truth. And I would honestly like to know the truth. I think I would give up my belief so I could get the truth.
Awesome.
Even if it affects the person I am. because it might mean that you can learn from it, and maybe you can do something with it.
Exactly.
It's better to know the truth than live in a lie.
Awesome.
Thanks for speaking to me. Thanks for speaking.
I would like to offer you one of these 3 pieces if you're interested. The idea here is to incentivize you to come back for the other 2. So we have time in between. There's no obligation.
Like, would it have to be today?
No.
Okay.
In fact,
I have work today, which is...
No. Ideally, like, weeks can pass before we meet again. I'd like you to process what we just talked about.
I'm probably going to go discuss this with someone else.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Would you like one of these?
Yeah.
Okay. Taking the red.
My favorite color.
When you, so you're interested in, like, bouncing this discussion off of someone else?
Probably, mostly because, like, I want to hear someone else's thoughts about it as well. I want to change my opinion. I'll still come back and talk about this more. Because this was very interesting.
I think it could be helpful. The more people you talk about it, the more it'll probably make you think about it. And then if we do run into each other again, we can talk about the things that you were talking about with other people. And if they were to, I don't know, maybe they convinced you that it is good to live a life where you're believing things that are not true and you don't care whether they're true or not. I don't know.
See, but then I feel like I'm going to come back and then I'm just going to go back to I want to know the truth.
Yeah, I think we've established that you value truth.
I do. I really do.
Despite the cost. What I think would be really useful is if we shift to a big one. Let's shift to a big claim that is core to who you are, that you might think is true, and then maybe you have reasons for thinking that it's true, or maybe you don't. Like ojo, or karma, or a higher power.
See, with like ojo and like brujerías and karma, it's more like, it's not a big belief, but at the same time, I don't want to risk it.
You don't want to risk discovering that something...
That it might be true. Like, I don't really want to, like, what if ojo is really true? What if it really happens? Like, I don't really want to risk that. I'd rather just...
You'd rather not know that it was true?
I would want to know if it's true, because then it means that I've been doing...
Okay.
I wouldn't have to be touching...
If ojo was true, this ability of, like, if I comment about your backpack, if I don't touch it, that's ojo, right?
Yeah, it's more like if you're like... If you see something and you're a little bit envious of it, or you want it, and you don't touch it or anything, you can give possibly that person bad luck. And you have to say, like, either prayer or rub an egg on your head.
If you discover that this concept of ojo is true... Wait, I'm confused. You value truth, but you wouldn't want to know whether it was true or false.
Oh, no, I would want to know if it's true. Like,
Okay.
Since I don't know if it's true or not, like, I haven't seen any proof of it. Like, no one's, like, shown me any proof as to why it's either fake or real. I don't want to mess with it either way. Like, you play it safe. You just... If I see someone and I, like, think about it, I just go touch them. I'm like, okay. But if someone came and be like, hey, do you want to know the truth about it? I'm like, yes I can.
I'm not sure I follow you. It seems like you're saying 2 contradictory things. If somebody says, do you want to know the truth about ojo, you would say yes.
Yeah, I would want to know if it's a true thing or not. Well, because I believe it might be true, but if someone's going to prove me that I'm wrong, I would want to know.
Okay.
Like, if my belief is wrong, or if... Because then I would be touching people for no reason. It's not true.
You could stop doing that action because it's likely not true.
It's not likely true.
You could be spending time doing other things.
Instead of, like, worrying whether, like, what if I have bad luck because someone gave me ojo?
Yeah.
They didn't tell me.
Yeah.
The truth always. I want to end with that. I would always want to know the truth.
Okay. Yeah.
So I gotta go to work.
That's a good place to end it. So let's meet again at some point. You can hit me up on email if you'd like. Do you have any questions for me?
What would you prefer? Belief or the truth?
Would you mind coming this way just a tad?
Yeah.
Because I want to get you in the shot. Could you ask that again?
What do you prefer to know? Would you rather stick with your belief, or would you want to know the truth?
I want to know as many true things as possible. And if I have false things in my head, I want to figure those out so I can stop believing them. Even though it may be sad to let go of a cherished view, or if I have to completely rethink the meaning and purpose that I get from life, because I can no longer believe in that because I don't have a good reason for it. And, it doesn't comport with my philosophy of wanting to believe true things. So I'm going to have to set that one aside. I might come back to it if there's a good reason for it. So it could be a little challenging to be shifting the things around in my map, my mind map, to make sure that it's reflecting reality. The reorganization process can be painful, but I think it's worth it.
I agree.
Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Yeah.
it really does. I think it's really worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's like moving furniture around. Sometimes there's a big-ass pool table in the middle of the room, and I know I'm going to strain my back moving it, but if it doesn't belong in there,
it shouldn't go there.
it shouldn't go there and needs to get out.
It really should.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's in the middle of the room.
Maritza, thank you very much. I do hope to see you again. Let's pick it
I
up.
probably will, because this was really interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Damn, I was like nearly speechless there at one point. She came around on recognizing the importance of believing true things. Right there. It could very well have been with me rolling out the different types of topics, and because maybe it was a sensitive topic, or she felt a loyalty to the topic, that she balked at first about, again, went on this whole kind of path of, well, hey, if it's not hurting in me or myself and I'm getting value from it, then it's okay to believe it. And then when we took a step back and started talking in broader terms about the valuation that we're putting on truth, that seemed to put it more into focus for her. And then, kind of in a broad way, we circled back to, there might be beliefs that we're holding that are not true. And what do we want to do with those? What would a person who values truth do in this situation? Great talk.